You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man. Hey, everybody, McGill Billy here.
And I am Jamie.
Welcome back. One more for the good guys. It is officially Gator Hater Week. Before we get into all that, we would just want to make sure we say our greetings and thank yous. And, man, we have gotten such a great response in our social media stuff, as well as the YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We can't thank you enough for all the support, continued support. Just continue. Evidently, you found some important people and you bragged on us and you let us know. So continue doing that. Find more important people. Share our channel more, our websites and social media and all that good stuff. Jamie's really created, he's been on a writing frenzy with some blog posts and different stuff that he's been knocking it out of the park on the One More for the Good Guys website. So, again, just go check our stuff out. We just want to say thank you and appreciate it. Liking, subscribing, following. It is the absolute easiest and freest way to. It does help. It
Cost you nothing.
It really helps.
Cost you nothing.
So if you enjoy what we're doing, check all that stuff out. Continue doing that. We just can't say thank you enough. So we'll say it one more time. Thank you. What are you smoking, Jamie?
Well, had one of these last night and then had one in my little carry humidor thing from last week. It's an Oliva V Milano. But it's a special edition one that I got from a retailer. And this is in a Parejo standard round shape. You know, it's not pressed, in other words. It's and this was a Robusto. You can't tell now, but very similar to the standard Oliva V Milano. But we say this all the time. Shape and the size of cigars matter.
Very much
flavor. So. And this is really good. It's not quite as good as the standard ones for some reason. Maybe it's my imagination, but very, very good. It's a stick that I appreciate. What you got over there?
Man, I've got a cigar that came in one of the Cigar of the Month clubs, and that I'm in, and we talked about this last week. You smoked a punch last week in the Classico in the London club size, the little Rothschild size. And This is it just ashed too. I was like, we were going over final preparations in our show notes and stuff. And I was like, oh man, is this ash going to hold on? Is it going to hold on? But this is the Punch Golden Era in Robusto, and it is a very traditional Robusto size, 5x50. It is a Honduran Corojo wrapper, Honduran Corojo binder, and Honduran fillers, and it's made for punch by Julio and Justo Hiroa of JRE Tobacco, who have absolutely mastered the Corojo tobacco. They are the same people who make one of my absolute all-time favorite sticks, the Aladino Corojo Reserva. They make that stick as well as lots of other stuff. So go check out JRE Tobacco as well. The Aroas are really doing it right. But
and I guess I was just looking that up right there to make sure I understood. But for the people at home, Corojo is a type of tobacco that is originally from Cuba, that's now grown. Well, still grown in Cuba, I'm sure. But for New World cigars, grown in, like this one's grown in Honduras, right?
Well, the big thing about the Corojo, yes, it is the Aroas, and people like the Aroas and Don Pepin and Padron, all those guys that defected Cuba from back in the day brought all their seeds with them. The Aroas have actually, I got to listen to, he was a guest on one of the Cigar Authority episodes, Christian was, and he was just talking about all of the scientific measures they've put into the Corojo. And the reason for that being was Corojo developed what they called a blue mold or a black shank disease. And so the yield was very, very limited.
But now, was this after it came out of Cuba, or was this in Cuba?
This was during Cuba, because it was I guess it was one of the primary leaves that was used that really signified Cuban tobacco, Cuban cigars rather. And lots of people have grown it. I mean, there's several different great Corojo sticks. We do the Nica Libre is a Corojo. Let's see, what else do we love? Well, the Don Pepin Blue Label is a Corojo, and it's a wonderful stick. But this is this is a little different. It is it's very light, and the Vegas Cubanas and the My Fathers are a Corojo leaf as well. But this is Corojo wrapper and binder, and all from Honduras and from the Arojo. I was about to say Arojo. From the Aroa and the JRE tobacco farms. I'm looking forward to it. So far, it's been very good. It's got that hints of that traditional Corojo spice, and it's very peanutty, which is always good. But it's a much lighter, shade wrapper. Kind of like the the things to compare it to would be like the ones that we like is the Blue Label, which is a little bit darker. It's aged a little longer, I think. Of course, it's Nicaraguan, but this one is a little bit lighter in color and really pretty. The presentation on it, the band, but looking forward to finishing this up. But the big thing is it's a punch product, and that is just being overlooked a lot these days. Punch still makes good stuff and
great stuff. I never had a bad one.
No,
I never had a bad Oliva either. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, Punch is something that really is overlooked a lot, and a lot of people don't carry them. That's
a legacy brand.
It is legacy brand.
So a lot of people are moved onwards and upwards to newer and better things.
Well, in their mind anyway.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm referencing. Sure. But any rate, that's what I'm smoking. Pretty economical. I think a box of 20, $150, $160, something like that.
$7-8 a stick. And I was just thinking about the 3 cigars you named that were Corojo. That one, now I have not had that one, but the other 2 I've had a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those cigars are all over the place from a flavor profile and strength profile. It's like, if you're saying that one's, I would say the Nica Libre is a medium, but boy, that blue it ain't a medium. It's above that.
It's a pretty stout cigar. I mean, I smoked that the other night when we were at Trailhead. I had that in I can't remember what size it is. It's like a 6x46. It's a smaller size. And they have different names. So it would be like a Lonsdale.
Right.
Typical Lonsdale size. I think maybe it's called an Invictus, or maybe I think maybe the Invictus is the Robusto size. But nonetheless, 6x46 cigar. So you're thinking, 45 minutes, right? Something like that. Like a classic Fuente is, an 858 or something like that. It's usually about 45 minutes. I smoked that son of a gun almost an hour and a half. I mean, it's just, if you go low and slow and cool with your smoking on them, man, they're and I loved it. There's a section in that one of the second third, right towards the second third. I was telling you that night that it's just like you just took a whole big mouthful of cashews.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's so good. And
that's one of my favorite cigars.
And Corojo's got this. I don't know quite how to describe it. I'm not an expert on all this by any means. I just do my due diligence and listening and reading and trying to stay halfway informed on this stuff. But Corojo's got a spice. It's got a zing. It's got a fiesta of flavors, that can be anything from really sweet cedar to coffee. You get coffee out of some of those sticks. The Nica Libre, especially, you get a big coffee flavor. You get some black pepper, red pepper, but this one's pretty unique. So I'm anxious to keep smoking this and get back with you with the final result here in a little while.
So. And not to make this a whole cigar thing, but a couple things I thought of about the Corojo wrapper that I have noticed. Beside the flavor is the mouthfeel that you get on a Corojo wrapper. For example, that Nica Libre, it's like silky. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a Connecticut shade feel. It's just a little thicker.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I have to be real careful with it. I don't know. It's got an interesting look. Or not interesting, a unique look and feel to it. So,
well, just what you said right there, just in comparison of this cigar being, a Honduran Puro, first of all, and it being Corojo binder and wrapper, the looks of this one, I mean, you probably would think it was a Connecticut.
Yeah,
right. By the looks of the wrapper. The Vegas Cubanus has got that real rich rosado color to it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The Pepin has got it's kind of got a little bit of rosado to it, but it's the dark, deep, brown and red color. Brown, really, with the red undertone, I guess. Yeah. And really then is. And the Nica Libre is very marbled and splotchy.
Well, that's
you
true.
Noticed that on those?
Yeah, really.
I smoked one of those this morning. That's why I had one of those this morning with coffee.
Well, you talk about affordable.
Yeah.
Those are just.
And that's all Aganorsa leaf tobacco. So,
and I would highly recommend those in a Bellicoso too, because there's something about that. It's a brilliant shape that they have. Anyway, I can't say enough about that.
It's kind of a soft box press, but it has the Bellicoso tip, and it's got like Jamie was saying earlier, between the smoothness of the wrapper and that shape of the Bellicoso tip, it's got a really, really good mouthfeel.
Yeah, the taper's right.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to explain without showing it, but anyway, last pet peeve thing, and we're going to talk about this in coming episodes on Good Guy Cigars, but one thing that drives me nuts, and this drives beginners nuts, I know, is the way cigars are described. And this is a case in point right here. Okay, Corojo wrapper. All right, you just said that the wrapper, and that's how this is not us, this is what's printed, Corojo wrapper. That's talking about the type of tobacco the wrapper's made out of. All right. But there's no standard, because a lot of times you'll say it's got a Maduro wrapper, which doesn't tell you nothing about the tobacco except that it is aged.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? There's no set, and maybe that's the beauty of it. Kind of like baseball, stadiums being different sizes. Okay, fine. But it's confusing to a beginner. So you could technically have a Corojo Maduro wrapper.
Yeah.
In theory. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And they do, right?
One of my favorite ones made is the Oh, come on, brain. It's your favorite, dummy. You just said it right here in front of everybody. No, it's the oh golly, Gran Habano.
Oh yeah.
Corojo Maduro number 5.
Right. Also affordable stick.
Very affordable stick.
And really good. That whole brand is good. And you talk about overlooked.
In the Maduro of the Corojo stuff, you're going to get more of the, just like you do in most Maduro sticks, you're going to get a lot more of the, it's going to be more, instead of coffee, it's going to be a little bit more espresso, and it's going to have a little bit more chocolate.
Sweet. A little bit of sweet.
A little bit of sweet where it's aged and matured and all that, ripened, which is what the word Maduro means. So, yeah.
And the only reason I said that is because I'm still confused sometimes. So if you're a beginner smoker, hey, just take it with a grain of salt.
Cheers. Who ain't confused these?
Yeah, it's like Corojo, Maduro, and binder is, because a lot of times filler and binder is described by the country, right? Yeah. It doesn't talk about what type of tobacco it is. It talks about where it's grown.
And there's other ones, just to throw this in there real quick too, is when they do that is I love it when they won't disclose what it is or where it's from.
That's right.
And just say undisclosed on the.
Yeah. Smoke it. Basically.
Yeah. You tell us, dummy. But, we're here to, that's things we had to kind of learn and figure out as we went along with vocabulary and what these things mean. And those are the type of things we'll be passing along to you in some future episodes as well. But now, the big thing here is this show comes to you live from East Tennessee, and it is Gator Hater Week. This game officially,
it's always Gator Hater Week.
That's right. As you see this today, the what time is the game?
3:30.
Is it 3:30? 3:30 game this week. This will be coming out. You'll be seeing this on Saturday, so you'll be seeing this on game day. So hopefully you'll see this early enough. That'll help you get in the mood, being a UT fan or being a Florida fan. Because
I'm sorry, not to interrupt. 7 p.m. game.
Okay, so 7 p.m. Yeah. So we're going to be going head to head with the big Ohio State and Oregon game. That's a 7:30 game. Okay, well that's all right.
We don't care if both of them lose.
No, if it was possible, I wish both of them would.
Yeah,
lose.
Me too.
But at any rate, we're here. We've also gotten more comments and more feedback from this last from the Arkansas episode that we did, and we're thankful for it. We really are. But we're here. I don't know if a lot of folks know how we try to do this and how we've kind of started shaping up a new template for a little bit newer type of a show to kind of collect what's going on, since we are sports fans. Since from the very beginning we've talked about sports, cigars, and all the other stuff that we like as good guys. But we're really going to try to give you a little bit of the history on both sides of the ball for both teams. And for you people who understand that, then this explanation won't be necessary for you. But for you mouth breathers that don't understand it, then, it's called connecting the dots. And you have to connect the dots to get a picture. There's 7,000 million different forms of media that you can go on and hear everything and hear everybody talking to every guest. And that's a player, that's a coach, that had a brother, sister's, uncle's, nephew's, sister's kid who played or cheerleaded for the University of Tennessee or the University of Florida. We got none of that shit. We're just a couple of good guys. We're going to give you a little bit of the history, the rundown, our pick, and the reason that we like who we like. And that's simply it. So as far as living in the past, maybe we are living in the past a little bit, but it's called history. And it's also called culture. So some of you folks, maybe other than bacteria, this might be the only culture you get.
That's correct.
So, any rate.
And we like to be positive.
Yes.
Especially here because there's so much negative out there. I deal with every day and, produce a lot of it every day that when I get on here, hey, we can control how this goes. And I want it to be positive. Look, we know that, Tennessee is not going to win national title every year. Okay. We know, but you know what? It's fun to hope. It's like Poe Hannah said, it's more fun to believe
in Bigfoot
and
UFOs.
Right.
And the Vols kicking Florida's ass.
That's right. So and a disclaimer on our picks for each game, don't bet based on what we say.
No. We are not prognosticators.
Because we are 0 for 1.
Ever.
0 for 1.
Yeah. But saying all that to say this, it is Gator Hater Week. We first played the Gators, I believe it was in 1917 or 16.
Or 19 and 16, as my granny would have said.
There you go.
Yeah.
19 and 16. Our longest losing streak has been 11 games. Our home record has been 13 and 14. Our away record has been 8 and 17. Our conference record has been 16 and 31. Our first matchup we won in 19 and 16, 24-0. We're also largest margin of victory was 45-3 in October 13th of 1990. The smallest margin of victory was 13-12, and that was in 1928. So we've had a big rivalry with the University of Florida, and that has really kind of been since basically the 90s, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that.
You're talking about the 11 in a row losses, right, that we had?
Yes.
Okay, so I looked that up. I wanted to see when that was. That was recent.
Yeah.
In the last 20 seasons, or 19, this will be 20, we're 2-18 against Florida since 05.
Great.
So this will be, if you count the 05 season, this will be the 20th season in that stretch. So the best we could do would be 3 out of 20. Is that right? Yeah. So we've won since 05. We've won 2 games against Florida.
Yeah. We're 21 and 32 all time. And another reason we started talking about this a little earlier before we started rolling. Another reason that we're wanting to do this is because I don't know if, Betty Joe and Jimmy John know this or not, but college football is changing before our very eyes. Between the portal, transfer portal, and between NIL, and between the money that this sport is generating on a national basis, with all of, again, your different forms of media. You've got people that are streaming. You've got ESPN1. You got ESPN. You got ESPN 13. You got ESPN Ocho. You got
FS1.
The baseball game. Watched it on True TV last night. So we're watching. This is becoming a global and more of a national sensation. And it's about money, folks. It's all about the money.
Everything
Follow
is.
the money. And so this, being able to share some of these things about the history between two schools, if they've had any interactions in the past, might be our niche of being able to deliver something that you're not going to hear on Bobblehead number 1 show, Bobblehead number 2 show, or any of the local sports affiliate shows that we have here. we're going to try to cover a little bit of that stuff. I mean, because it's still, and again, we're not journalists, we're not sportscasters, we're just two guys trying to tell you some interesting stuff that we found out. So, with that being said, University of Florida is in Gainesville, which are approximately 550 miles apart. So, back in the day, between the cost and the time required to travel, which was done all by train, and the fact that the SEC didn't require members to play each other very often, the schools only met 13 times between 1916 and 1969. And of those 13 games, 7 were played in Knoxville and 2 were played in Gainesville and 4 were played in other locations in Florida.
How'd we do on that stretch? Do you know?
We were up until the 90s.
I think we were up until 05.
We might have been.
Because you said 21 and 32?
Yes.
Definitely. Because we've dropped, like I said, 17 games since 05. So there's more than the difference. So we were way up before 05. Anyway.
SEC became a 10-member league in the late 60s, and a new scheduling system had the Gators and Vols play 7 times over the next 21 seasons. The SEC, as most of you are probably familiar with, this is more, my first ball game was 1977. We played Duke. We got beat. I've still not booed my team. I probably threw my hat. I probably cursed a few times, but I've never booed my team. So don't you bastards do it on Saturday if you're going to that game. It costs nothing. Anybody can act like an asshole. Don't boo your team, no matter how bad it is or how bad you may think it is. It's still a football game.
And they're kids.
And if you haven't heard, there's like a huge hurricane going across the state of Florida right now where people are dying, as well as in eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina and all over the southeast. So it's a ball game. Okay. We became a 12-member league in 1992 and split into 2 divisions. Florida and Tennessee were both placed in the SEC's Eastern Division, and they have met annually ever since. Now, that's probably going to change, right?
Definitely.
So probably won't have Florida.
No divisions now.
Yeah.
But it's a free-for-all, right?
Mm-hmm. Florida and Tennessee have played on the 3rd Saturday of September almost every year since 92, giving the rivalry its nickname, the 3rd Saturday in September.
That's gone.
Of course, that's gone now. And that was actually, the few exceptions to the usual scheduling came in 2001 when the game was postponed until December 1st due to the September 11th attacks.
Oh, I remember that.
And in 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic delayed the start of the season and shifted the Florida-Tennessee game to December 5th. So, again, there's 2 things that really, put a damper on things, right?
Absolutely.
That really kind of put this just being another damn ball game into the mix. Tennessee dominated the early series, winning their first 10 meetings over a span of 37 years. The highlight of this period was, we don't need to read all that.
Well, Tennessee was really good then.
Yeah.
All right.
Florida and Tennessee would not meet again for 14 years. That's been the longest gap in the series to date, and they faced off in the 1969 Gator Bowl. In that postseason matchup between conference foes, Florida won 14-13 and then hired away the Tennessee's head coach, former Gator quarterback Doug Dickey.
And future
AD.
Anyway, go ahead. Right, AD here.
Yeah, we're getting to that. At the conclusion of the 1960s, Tennessee owned an 11-2 all-time record against Florida. So, in the 70s and 80s, Tennessee won their first 2 clashes against Dickey's Gators. Florida won the next 2, including a 76 victory in Gainesville. That was their first home win against the Vols in 4 tries. Dickey resigned as coach in 1978, ending a largely disappointing tenure at Florida, and eventually returning to Knoxville in 85 to become Tennessee's athletic director. Florida ran their win streak over Tennessee to 4 games over 9 seasons, with wins in Knoxville and Gainesville in 84, 85, as they topped the SEC standings in both years. However, Florida would not be officially recognized for those championships, as the program was under NCAA probation during the 84 season due to violations committed under former coach Charlie Pell. You've been a bad boy, Charlie.
Good time Charlie's got the blues.
He's got the blues. But on the field, Florida held a 4-2 advantage during the 1970s and 80s. In the 90s, Tennessee and Florida rotated back and forth onto each other's schedule, which was coincidentally the same year that former Florida quarterback Steve Spurrier returned to Gainesville as the Gators' new head coach. Spurrier had spent most of his youth in Tennessee, growing up in
Johnson City,
Science Hill. Florida won the return game. Actually killed us by 45-3. No, I think I read that wrong. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Spurrier had spent most of his youth in Tennessee, and his return to the state was marred by a 45-3 Vols rout in 1990. The largest margin of victory in the series history.
That's a pretty good Vols team, though. I mean, that's good. That was, I guess, Pickens in that crowd, right?
Yeah.
Dale Carter.
That seems right.
Quarterback would it have been
Dickey?
Andy Kelly.
Kelly.
Right before Schuler, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think he was in 92.
Well, I was going to say that 92, they came here and we beat them.
Yeah.
And that was Schuler.
Florida won in 91 on their way to a first official conference championship. And
then 92, that was also a banner year. Well, banner year. Very important year, let's call it that, because that was the next to last game that Johnny Majors coached, because he coached 4 games, and after that, Fullman took over and never looked back. 92.
Mm-hmm.
So I was driving back, me and Jeff, former guest, Jeff Webb, we were driving back from hunting in Monroe County, and we had left the radio off on purpose so we didn't know who won. And
wow.
Yeah, we were crossing the Alcoa Highway.
That would have been hard to do.
It was, man. We were crossing the Alcoa Highway Bridge
for sure.
Coming home. And I said, I can't stand it no more. I said, roll down and win and ask them who won. Because it was over. And I said, everybody looks pretty happy, And we won. So that's how I found out in 92 that we had beaten them.
As their first matchup as a permanent opponent in 92 helped sow the seeds of a rivalry. As the underdog Vols beat the defending SEC champion Gators in Neyland Stadium. Fulmer had been serving as UT's interim head coach. Majors had heart problems and was recovering, and completely got railroaded out of town
That's
by
right,
a
man.
shitty move from our organization, much like the great train robbery of Tom Landry and the hiring of Peppermint Patty out there in Jerry's world.
Or the great train robbery of Pat Summit and the hiring of Peppermint Patty.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So. Not a good look for our university. But his team of the having the team's upset of the Gators helped secure Fulmer as a permanent position and brought about a decade of games in which the real rivalry was one of the key matchups for every college football season. However, the Gators turned the tables and upset the Volunteers in 93 with true freshman Danny, how could I throw it any more wobbly and lofty, Warfel, outplaying Heisman Trophy candidate Heath Schuler in a 41-34 win that was Fulmer's first loss as Tennessee's head coach.
Game 3.
Yeah. Like we said in the 90s, the rivalry really picked up because, and one of the biggest reasons the rivalry picked up is because it held national championship implications over year. Each of the following seasons.
That's right.
With both teams entering the contests ranked in the top 10 every year, though they were not always on the, though they were not always the favorite. Florida won 5 straight against Tennessee from 93 to 97, winning 4 SEC titles and a consensus national championship in 96. 94, 95, 96 contests, matchups were between starting quarterbacks. Danny, how in the hell did I beat the Vols and throw an ugly ball like that? Werfel.
And win the Heisman.
And Peyton Manning, who never beat Florida during his celebrated college career. But though Florida beat Tennessee in 97,
98 was coming.
In 97, upset losses to LSU and Georgia propelled Tennessee to their own SEC championship in Manning's senior year, right there on the wall.
Against Auburn, right?
Yeah.
Yep. There it is.
And Tennessee broke the winning streak in 98 with a 20-17 overtime win and went on to win their second straight SEC championship and a national championship. Sorry we had to bring that up. But in 99, Florida upset the Vols in Gainesville to close out the decade. Now, here's where things get pretty rough. If that wasn't rough enough.
Yeah.
Because the 2000s were coming. So real quick, during the 90s, Florida and Tennessee combined. Now, listen to this. This is pretty interesting. Florida and Tennessee combined during the 90s to win 8 conference and 2 national championships, and either the Gators or the Volunteers represented the SEC East in each of the first 10 SEC championship games.
Wow.
Both teams were ranked in the top 10 for 8 out of their 10 contests during the decade, and neither team ever entered their rivalry game ranked lower than number 15.
Golly, man.
Florida held a 7-3 record against Tennessee from 90 to 99. How about that?
Yeah, it's
10 straight years. It was going to be one or
East
the
champion.
other.
Yeah.
You know, and during a lot of that time, and we got this week's coming up next. During a lot of that time, Alabama was sucking hind tit, coming off of all of the NCAA violations that they got slammed with. And that's
they won a title in 92.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know.
And it was over.
I don't know how many did he coach? What was his name?
Gene Stallings.
Yeah. Did he coach after 92 or did he retire?
The only man other than Jackie Sherrill that was made out of 100% complete Vaseline. He had more moves than Slick 50 ever thought about. No, I think he only got the one. Because then they went on, and we'll get into that next week.
Yeah, they didn't win another one, but did he retire or did they bring some?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. We'll have all that, but I don't.
For the Alabama game.
He might have retired, but I'm not for sure. But
Peyton had Alabama's number though. During his at Florida, he didn't, but Alabama, we did. So hey,
absolutely. And listen, being a fan for so long, I obviously want to win against Florida every year because they did become such a heated rival. And then, we're getting ready to cover the 2000s. We'll skip through that pretty quick because we don't want to live in the past.
That's right.
But at any rate, there's nothing more important to a Tennessee Volunteer fan of my age group than beating Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Florida, yeah, we've had to take our lumps and our losses and kind of be all right with that for a few years. But man, and again, we'll save all that for that. But that's the game. I swear, if we went 1-11, I'd be okay. If we beat Bama, I mean that's old,
and so would Vanderbilt.
Old rivalry.
So Vanderbilt be okay with that too. Although they're pretty good this year,
absolutely.
Seemingly, yeah. But I mean, as good as Florida was, I mean,
well, Florida, even when they came on and they started winning, Florida was, and I'm not throwing any shade. I'm not meaning this. I'm making jokes when I say all that stuff about Warfel or whatever. I mean, they beat us. They won. But I can still make jokes about it. But the difference between Alabama and Florida and us and our rivalries with them was the difference between somebody winning the lottery and being new money versus somebody who came from a family of money and old money. To me, that would be the analogy that I would put on it, because there's no other team who has played the University of Alabama more than the University of Tennessee.
And that means there's no other team that's beat the University of Alabama more
Correct.
than the University of Tennessee.
So that one is just always, and it probably has a lot to do with influential years, being a young kid and being a fan. We didn't get to watch the games. We had to listen to them on the radio while you're working in the yard.
Yeah, that's right.
Or you had to, or maybe, just maybe, somebody got an extra ticket, and you got to go to the game.
Right.
Hell, I know for 4 years I hauled ice.
The game?
I hauled ice. They would park 53-foot reefers out in the parking lot, and we would back a pickup truck up to those, and they would throw out 50-pound bags of ice, and we'd stack them in that truck and drive them to each concession stand inside and unload them and stack them, and I got to watch the game.
Right. Worth it?
And paid $100.
Worth it?
It was then.
Yeah. Now
I don't know if my back would have thought so after a little while, but it was the only way I was going to get to go to the game and get paid.
Right.
So yeah, it was worth it. But my point being, there wasn't SEC network. It was ABC, NBC, CBS, and NBC was you were going to watch Notre Dame every year.
Yeah.
I mean, every Sunday.
And if you got the SEC game of the week, you're playing Alabama.
Right.
So that's who we got to see, too.
And that only happened when it was on Jefferson Pilot.
That's right.
I mean, that was years later. That was in the 90s.
Yep.
The 80s, 85, about one of the only games we got to see live on TV would have been the 85 Sugar Bowl.
Yep. Also a year that we lost to Florida.
Wasn't there.
Yeah. I was thinking about another quarterback because there's two quarterbacks now. The other one is Rex Grossman.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he won a Heisman or not, but I think he did. Danny Werfel. Seems like there's another one. Anyway, but I mean, back on the rivalry situation, Alabama is, and don't mean I like them, but Alabama as a football program is the football program in college football history.
Yeah, I mean,
they just are. I mean, hell, Sapphire Saban won 6 national titles himself.
Yeah. So skipping ahead, the 2000s, Florida began the next decade with a 27-23 victory in Knoxville in front of a national record crowd of 108,768 fans.
Yep. You see those poster pictures of the stadium of that game a lot because of that record at the time, that record.
And of course, in the following season, as we talked about earlier, the September 11th attacks postponed all NCAA Division I football games. The Tennessee matchup was again rescheduled for December, and the Vols upset the Gators in Gainesville, winning on Florida field for the first time. Now listen to this. Since 1971.
God.
Steve Spurrier left Florida for the NFL after the 2001 season, and they crucified him and set him on fire in the city of Washington. I see. It's like a joke, but only smaller. Ranked in the top 10, new Florida coach Ron Zook, who I couldn't stand, led the Gators to another win in Knoxville. However, both teams stumbled later in the season, and for the first time ever, neither would represent the SEC's Eastern Conference in the SEC championship.
What year was that?
That would have been in 2001.
So I guess Georgia did?
I don't know. Probably. Well, yeah.
Had to be.
I mean, it'd have to be.
I mean, wasn't South? It has to be. It wasn't Kentucky or Vandy, so was it South Carolina?
No.
I don't think so.
South Carolina. The 2002 contest would be the last time to date in which both schools would enter their annual clash ranked in the top 10.
Wow.
That would be the last time. So for the first time since the division rivalry began 11 years earlier, the 2003 matchup featured Florida and Tennessee teams that were each ranked out of the top 10. UT was number 12 and Florida was number 17, and the game was relegated to noon kickoff. Tennessee pulled away in the second half to win 24-10 for their second victory in Gainesville. The Vols were victorious against Florida again in 2004 for their second straight win against Florida and their third victory in 4 meetings. Zook was fired, and then they brought in the Antichrist, Urban Meyer.
Really handed this.
Oh, man. No shit. You seen that Netflix documentary of I can't even remember what it's called now, but it's about his time at Florida.
There and Hernandez thing and all that stuff.
Well, that's in there, but it's not. That's not
the focus.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's basically his put it in the comments. You guys have seen it. I can't remember it.
You might get to see Urban Meyer again at Florida.
Yeah.
I think he's got the itch.
The only time I really want to see Urban Meyer again in Florida is where he's up to here in a pool of quicksand. So if that happens, then yeah, good luck, Urban. The 2003 matchup featured, we didn't read that. Hell. Vols were victorious. We done read that. Yeah, Zook was fired. Urban Meyer was hired, putting an emphasis on defending their home turf. Florida's 16-7 home win over Tennessee in 2005 helped to revive the program and start a Gator win streak in the rivalry that would span over a decade. Myers Gators beat Fulmer's Volunteers again in 2006 and 2007. And while Florida was SEC and national champions in 2006, Tennessee reached the SEC championship game in 2007. Florida won 30-6 in Knoxville in 2008 and on their way to another SEC and national championship season.
Got Fulmer fired.
Yeah. After recording its second losing season within a 4-year span, Fulmer resigned as the Vols head coach.
Yeah. Resigned-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, they won, for me, I won't speak for you, but for me, when I think Florida and rivalry, I think Steve Spurrier. In my mind, that's the rivalry to me, but in all reality,
Yeah.
It got worse with Meyer because they won 2 national titles. Yeah. Now, okay, you had Tim Tebow. That helped. But yeah, I think Chris Leak was the quarterback in that first national title team, and then Tebow was next year. But they used Tebow out of the backfield or something, wasn't it? Something like that. A wildcat formation.
Yeah, he didn't. It was. You're right. Yeah, that's correct.
Then he came in next year and won a Heisman.
Well, and if you think about it, honestly, even as a UT fan, and hey, let's face it, as a Florida fan, those 90s teams and those 90s matchups, it was still Florida heavy. I mean, we still didn't come out of it with a winning record, so that could be celebrated just as much as the 2000 eras for Florida fans. You know, it's not just about UT at that point. Yeah. I mean, but I think one of the reasons that it was such a rivalry, regardless of some of the lopsided stats, is because of everything we just read about never being ranked out of the top 10. It was either Florida or UT.
Yeah.
There was so much importance placed on that one game every year, and it brought so much national attention. And if you think about it this way too, during that time, that was the cable fucking boom.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, NASCAR was on every week. You had college football on, more than 4 channels on all the time.
Got every golf match.
I mean, every basketball game. So that was a big influential time. And I'll try to move it along here a little quicker, but so Kiffin comes in, Lane Kiffin.
09.
We got on the Lane train in 09.
For 5 minutes.
He verbally sparred with the Gators, Coach Myers, and in the month leading up to their first meeting. But the Gators beat the Volunteers in Gainesville in 2009, and Kiffin left Tennessee after the season. Obviously, we know what all that shit was about. From 2000 to 2009, Florida again held a 7-3 advantage over Tennessee. So here's where it gets really bad. Meyer left Florida in 2010, and then of course Coach Will Muschamp came along, who was the Gators coach from 2011 to 2014. Their winning streak over Tennessee continued during the first half of the decade, and then the Volunteers simultaneously suffered through some subpar seasons of their own under coaches Derek Dooley.
Yeah, subpar is being kind.
Yes, it's being very kind. And Butch Brick by Brick Jones, who arrived in 2013. The Gators ran their series win streak to 11 with a 28-27 comeback win in Gainesville in 2015. For the first year, newly appointed head coach Jim McElwain, that who the fuck knows, or where he's at or where he's been. 2016 and 2017 would also feature second half comebacks. Tennessee came back from 21-0 first half deficit in 16 to beat the Gators and end Florida's series long winning streak at 11 games. Florida then won again in 2017 with a Hail Mary. Now,
oh my God, I remember that.
Oh yeah, it was just horrible.
It was
as heartbreaking to us as it was when we did it against Georgia.
It really was.
I mean, it was that same kind of, there's no way in hell, oh my God, we've just lost. Or we've just won. Whichever side of the fence you were on.
Very reminiscent of Auburn running back a long field goal kick against Bama to beat them.
Yeah.
Is that that's play of the century, isn't it? Probably.
Probably.
Off track.
With Auburn, Alabama?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, sure. They've had our number. Hell, they beat us last year.
So while the rivalry was still important to both schools, it lacked its previous national impact, like we said. And, during that first half of the decade in 2013, Tennessee and Florida both failed to qualify for a bowl game. And during that same season, for the first time since 1978, in 2014 and 2015, both teams came into their game unranked, something that had not happened since the 1950s.
Golly, talk about
Craziness.
falling on hard times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2020s, both programs changed coaches again earlier in the decade, with Josh Heupel taking over at UT in 2021 and Billy Napier,
thank God,
at the University of Florida in 2022. Florida's series win streak grew to 5 before Tennessee won in Knoxville in 2022, in what marked the first time in 6 years that both teams came into their rivalry game ranked in the AP Top 20. Florida upset the number 11 Volunteers in 2023 to extend their home winning streak in the series to 10 games.
And Florida was unranked for that game last year.
Yeah.
At that time. So
that catches us up of all the history that we could dig up that we felt like might be kind of interesting about the two teams. Who was your favorite? What was your favorite game? Who was your favorite quarterback? What was your favorite era? What was your favorite? What was your biggest heartbreak? Which loss stunned you more than the other? Give us some feedback in the comments and let us know if what you thought about the rivalry so far with the University of Tennessee and the University of Florida. So, who's going to win this thing?
Well,
go ahead with your question.
I was just going to say, we didn't talk about the last game with Arkansas yet, and a lot of questions after that game.
Well,
I think part of it, I'll just give my opinion on it. Part of it for me was, well, just much like what's going on in the baseball series. If you take a week off, and we coming off a bye week,
it can be good sometimes, or it can be bad sometimes.
Right, coming after a great win, right?
Mm-hmm.
A biggest win of Heupel's career, going out to Oklahoma, first time beating a ranked opponent on the road, right?
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
That's correct.
And taking a week off, which, especially in football, you're like, man, everybody gets to heal up a little bit. And, since it's such a physical sport, and then just show up and act like they've never seen one before.
Yeah.
We got beat in every facet of the game when it mattered the most.
Well,
and still had a 14-3 lead.
Well, I think there's not enough that could be said about how hard the defense played.
I agree. Or it would have been a blowout.
3 points in the first half. Now, the ball control issue, the time of possession clock, that was a big deal. But that defense played they gave everything they had for the state of Tennessee that day. Could they have stepped up here or there, maybe once or twice? Well, they did, because they held them to missed field goals. They caused them to punt. Okay, so they got it and they got the ball on the other side of the 50, but our defense held really strong.
Had some serious penalties that could have been avoided on defense, though. That was some
serious penalties on the whole fucking squad.
That roughing the punter, that was
terrible. The roughing the passer thing was not good, but the thing that got us beat was starting drives 1st and 15, 1st and 20, 1st and 25.
Digging yourself out of a hole.
And I told you, I said it here. I said if I was Arkansas, I would make them run the ball, and I would make Dylan Sampson, Bishop, they get what they get. Kind of like playing Jordan. He's going to get his 50, when he first came in and was playing the Celtics.
Right.
Okay, let him get his 50, but we got to shut this other stuff down. We got to make these other guys beat us. We know we can score more than 50. Well, that's exactly what Arkansas did. They lined up. They lined up to stop the run. They brought the blitz from everywhere and anywhere that no one was expecting it to come from. And they put pressure on the freshman quarterback. And
quarterback.
And young receivers to beat us, and we couldn't do it. Simple as that.
As simple as that.
Now, you add all of the offsides, you add all of the false starts, you add all of the unsportsmanlike or whatever those, just add all the penalties. And on top of that, the only good thing about it was we didn't turn the ball over. Because if we'd have turned the ball over twice like we did against Oklahoma,
we'd really got
our ass beat. So I think Tennessee, I think this is a classic thing our fans do, and I've said it for a dozen years or more, is stop drinking that big orange Kool-Aid. Now, I know we picked the Vols to win, but what do you think we're going to do? We're going to pick them to lose? I'm not ever going to pick them to lose. I ain't got no money riding on it, and none of you should be betting compared to what I'm talking about, but or betting on based on my opinion, because it's
an opinion.
It's an opinion, but they did exactly what I thought they would try to do, and they challenged us, and we couldn't get it done with our young players, and the continuous amount of mistakes that we made. That was the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, agreed. And you said all that before the game too. Yeah. That would, and of course, I was like talking about, man, we owe them one.
Oh yeah,
basically after 98, and but. The thing about it is, I thought about it long and hard, and I've tried not to be the traditional Kool-Aid drinker. For a long time, I wouldn't even watch them. I was disgusted with the way the whole thing went down with Fulmer, really, and I was really disgusted with the Pat Summitt thing. So I just kind of for 10 years, I was like, how are you going to get beat? Well,
then we hired 4 straight scapegoats,
losers, and then Heupel came in, and I was like, okay, all right, I feel this guy a little, but here's my opinion, and I could be completely wrong because I'm wrong more than half the time, but this is what I think. I think losing to Arkansas might be the best thing that happened to this team all year, because you got 2 ways, and I wrote this earlier in the week. You got 2 responses to what happened. You can go back to the drawing board. You could self-reflect and make yourself better as a player and better as a teammate, and come out and blow Florida off the map.
Yeah.
I'm talking about don't let up, put 40 points on them if possible, and say, okay, hey, we're resilient, number one. Because listen, Nico's your guy. Okay, there ain't nobody sitting in the wing. This ain't Texas.
And whether you all want to like it or you don't, he's the only guy over there that we got. So
that's right.
You better get on board of trying to support the kid.
That's right.
And the coaching staff and the team, and quit your bullshit.
And they need support.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
They are going to play better when they have support.
Absolutely.
They just are. Everybody will.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How disheartening is that to you're going to go over there and boo a 19-year-old kid. And guess what? They don't know that you're just booing him, or you're just booing the coach because they didn't call a good game, or you're just booing the offensive line. No, you're booing the whole damn team. So it's, after how hard that defense played, could you imagine how disheartening that is? As much and as grand as we like to say the pageantry and the epic proportions of crowds and the gala of Neyland Stadium and 107,000 people. Well, imagine that the other way.
That's right.
Or it's like the damn Roman Coliseum and your kid's sitting down there on the bench and you got 107 of you mouth breathers up there, madder than hell, thinking because the world's going to end because Big Orange is going to lose. And you can give them that, or you can give them that. I mean, that's how they're going to take it. Was that not how you would take it if you were that age kid again?
Absolutely. Listen, losing sucks.
It sucks.
It needs to hurt.
It just I
hope it does. I hope it hurts.
I heard Dylan Stanton. Go ahead.
This was a team loss.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Oh.
Okay. Because the defense,
big time.
Arkansas, the end of the first quarter was 3-0. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Arkansas.
The first half was 3-0.
That's right. So that's a position that Heupel coach teams are not used to being in. We score a lot of points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Ask Kent State. Okay. That's been the tradition thing. Okay. So now Arkansas goes into that halftime thinking, we got them. We've done what we said we're going to do. We've kept this juggernaut, quote unquote, offense down to 3-0, whatever it was. Was it 3-0?
3-0.
Okay. So no
At
points.
The half.
No points in the first half, right? And they got them.
No points in the first half, and our defense held them to 3.
Yeah.
And got the time of possession was doubled.
Yeah. So back to your original question, who's going to win?
Yeah, what's your pick?
I'm picking Tennessee 42-7.
Oh shit!
I think it's going to be an absolute blowout.
All right, I think
that. And if it is, back to what Mike said, if you're booing
just don't
a bunch of kids,
team.
You're a dickhead.
Just don't boo
End of
your
sentence,
team.
man.
You just don't boo your team.
I'm a Yankees fan. We talked about it many times, but I don't like that Yankee Bronx cheer booing players and stuff. The other night they were booing Aaron Judge. Some bitch hit 58 home runs for you. Without him, you're not in the playoffs at all.
Well,
period.
He's winning the MVP.
Yeah, and
that stands for most valuable player
for the second time.
Right.
Okay.
So that means he's more valuable than any other player not only on their staff, but on any staff in Major League Baseball.
When's the last time you had a non-steroid using MVP at the New York Yankees?
Yeah.
1985.
Yeah.
Don Mattingly. So anyway, 42-7, Florida goes home. They fire Bill Napier after the game. Napier loses that's who it is, right?
Yeah.
Napier's gone next week.
Yeah. I mean, he's been gone since the first of the season, honestly. They've got the money to buy that out. That's not a problem. So I don't think they're going to come in there. It's not going to be, I don't think Florida's going to have that as a motivation as let's win this one for the Gipper.
No, he's lost.
You know what I mean? No,
this is not.
It's bad. And there was some bad timing there. Napier, coming from his coaching tree and his past pedigree. I mean, hell, he's he's learned and came out from under the best. Saban, Dabo, Kirby Smart.
Yeah, but he got got in that job, and he also had to face the best.
Absolutely.
You're facing the best two teams in the country to get out of the SEC every year.
Well,
including this one.
And you're leading an entire group of young men. You're not just leading a squad.
That's right.
You're not just a platoon leader. You're the captain. You're the lieutenant. You're the commanding officer.
Tough job.
Very tough job. But
42-7, Napier's gone next week.
And I'm just saying, listen, I know I'm having a lot of fun calling names and stuff like that, but don't boo our guys. Don't do that. It just stinks.
They're kids, man.
It stinks.
I know they're getting paid now.
Yeah.
Next year, just to interject this, you see the NCAA settlement. I don't know if you saw it, but next year, fall of 2025, the schools are being released to give up to $20 million a year each to student athletes. So in 2025, a percentage of the revenue will go to the athletes up to a $20 million ish. So spread across all sports.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
But I mean, who's paying the bills over there?
Right.
Football, baseball, basketball.
Well, your powerful.
So not only are they getting this name, image, likeness money, they're going to get paid, according to what I just read. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments, but I was reading that today that 2025 fall, they start getting around, it's an estimated about $20 million to the athletes that the college universities can pay to the athletes. Well, hell fire.
Well,
that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. And we've talked about that, and we'll have save that. We'll save that for another.
Right.
We're digging into that, I guess.
But don't boo our boys. That's what we're saying.
Don't boo our team. Yeah. It's just that's low class. But at any rate, I'm going to say 35-17 falls. I think we'll get them. I think you're right. I think one of the interviews that I heard that really struck an accord and a nerve with me was one from Dylan Sampson, and he said, we were lackadaisical, and he said, and I tried to tell these guys that you just can't go out there and turn it on when you want to turn it on.
I like that kid, man. He's a leader.
He's tough. He's a leader. So and hey, here's the other thing we said last week too. All is not lost. Now, if you think all is lost, then great. Have fun at your pity party and all the people you want to invite to it so you can be lazy and just talk negative about everything. But I don't think all is lost,
Well, if they win out, nobody's talking about this game. If you win out, you're in the playoff. Hey, 100% chance.
And listen, 5 out of the top 10 lost last week.
If you're going to lose, that's the week to lose.
You don't think that could happen again?
Oh,
now,
sure.
Maybe not 5, but listen, Ohio State and Oregon.
There's going to be one top 10.
There's going to be one lose there, and Georgia's still got a tough schedule. Alabama's still got a tough schedule. Texas has still got a tough schedule.
I got Oklahoma this week.
And I'm telling you right now, and I said this, if there's a team that however it could happen, that would go undefeated in this season of a first 12 team playoff and a regular season and championship game and all that shit. Well, hey, you deserve to be the national champion.
Absolutely.
And I don't think there will be an undefeated team win the national championship.
I don't know that there'll be an undefeated team by the end of the year.
That's what yes.
I mean,
I would agree with that as well.
It's going to be tough. I saw today somebody picked Oregon to beat Ohio State. I don't think that's happening, but we'll see.
Who knows?
It doesn't matter what it says on paper. It's when they show up and what happens. That's the end of it. So I think Tennessee is going to rebound from this. I think that I'm just going to be hopeful about it. That hey, man, you've got Nico. That's your guy.
Yep.
Okay. He's got all the tools and all the talent, but you know what? That ain't enough.
Yeah.
And he needs some losses, and you need some humility and whatever else, and you need to fight back. And so anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Well,
42-7.
35-17. That's my pick. The Punch Golden Era, man, first 2/3 were very good. I'd like to have another one to smoke because I believe there's some really there's some nuances to it. But for the most part, I got a little bit of the cedar, I got some of a lot of peanut, a little bit of saltiness, and some different types of like baking spice notes from it. But I would definitely smoke another one for sure. And if you can get them, I would definitely say they're. I would at least buy a 10-pack of them.
Oh yeah,
just to have just to judge against one another to see how the overall experience would come out. So
this smoke, this Oliva, we love the Milano. We've talked about it a bunch.
Yeah.
This one they're not quite as good in this shape. They are. The end of this is very cocoa chocolatey right here at the end. I want to smoke it down to nothing, but the construction on this is flawless. Yeah. This is one of the prettiest group of cigars I've seen. And as far as bottom, I bought a 10-pack already. This is a box.
They're so consistent.
This is a box worthy smoke. And the boxes are 10 in a box.
Right.
So I would highly recommend this, but I would really more so recommend the standard Oliva V Milano over this. So,
yeah. All right, kids, that's it. That's that. You heard it here. Just a real quick thing. Thanks again for everybody's support. Go Vols.
Subscribe to everything.
Subscribe, share, like.
We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We have a website for One More for the Good Guys website now. You fill in the blank with that. And subscribe to the blog because we're writing blogs now.
Right. And a website for
Good Guys.
Use your brain for Good Guys cigars. So,
yeah.
But we'll also just touch this just real quick. December 22nd will be the next time you'll be able to see the full refill show with Mike McGillen Refills, a special guest, and that will be at the Bijou Theater here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that is a benefit for the Food for Kids program of Second Harvest. We're going to try to have a few guests on that are going to be upcoming with that. And we'll tell you more about it along the way, but it's not too early to plant the seed. 1 out of 6 kids go hungry in the rural East Tennessee area. And over an 8-year period, I know I said 12 years, this will be the 12th year, but we didn't start it being a fundraiser until the 4th year. And through those 8 years that it's been a fundraiser for the Food for Kids program, over 19 counties here in rural East Tennessee, we have supplied 100,000 meals. So pretty good for for a couple of big hairy hillbillies that like the Vols and don't want to see you booing them. Love you, mean it. Be kind. Doesn't cost anything to be kind. Anybody can be an asshole. I say it every week, and I mean it. But there's a certain price to always be paid for cruelty. And that's it. That's that. Cheers. One more for the good guys. You want to do another one?
Oh, yeah.
All right. See you next time. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.